welcome back to Fire Headlines, where we discuss the hottest topics in fire service news. I'm your host, Samantha Didion. I have a very special guest joining me today, one of the original panel members of the show, Chief Jeff Buchanan. Jeff, welcome back to Fire Headlines.
Samantha, wow. Great to be here. A little nostalgic to be back with you. And I don't see my man B.O.B. And that's a little bit of a bummer, but it's great to be back.
Yeah, Bob comes and goes as his schedule allows, but we're so happy to be able to catch up with you again because it's been a while since we've heard from you. So can you share with our listeners kind of what's been going on in your world?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for the opportunity. Great to be here, Samantha. Great to see you. Big fan of the show, that's for sure. Yeah, it's been a crazy last couple of months. At the end of March, I started with AT&T, specifically FirstNet, built with AT&T, and my life's been moving pretty fast as a result. I took a position that was held by a great guy. His name's Tommy Smith. He was in the position that I am now in, and he decided to retire. Which he's an ex-fire chief, retired fire chief, and he was doing great work for FirstNet, built with AT&T, and decided to really hang up the gloves, so to speak. And he's building a house. And anyway, I'm in that spot now, and really excited about it.
And so what is this position? What's your role with FirstNet AT&T?
Yeah, great. FirstNet, built with AT&T. My position, in one word, I would summarize it to say advocate. By way of title, externally to the organization, I'm the Associate Director of Market Strategy and Development for Fire, EMS, Healthcare, and City County Government. What does that mean? Well, it really means that what I have found personally through my own professional and personal experiences, there's some misunderstanding when it comes to FirstNet, and there's a lot of education that still needs to be distributed because it's kind of complicated, to be honest with you. While I may have a great understanding of it, because of course now I work for the company, I was exposed to a great deal of different perspectives of FirstNet from some of my past professional experiences, and yeah, now really what's so exciting for me is I get to specifically deal with fire personnel, EMS personnel, and this is leadership and actually boots on the ground, healthcare and city and county government, and bring a higher level of understanding of really what FirstNet built with AT&T is, and to some extent what the First Responder Network Authority is and how important it is to first responders and how they can communicate.
So Jeff, we heard the story of FirstNet AT&T when you and I had Jeff Johnson on the show several months ago to talk about it. But let's hear it from your point of view, because I know there's some history that you have with FirstNet and AT&T as well. And maybe if there's anything new happening there, you can share that with our listeners as well.
So this, part of the cool aspect for me, and it's really cool to be able to share this experience is, way back when, if you roll back the hands of time to the 9/11, what happened on that fateful day that we all wish didn't happen, but what it did is it projected us forward in so many different ways. Well, there was a lot of challenges there. There were a lot of research done in regards to that incident. How can we get better? Well, one of the problems was interoperability from a communication standpoint with first responders. Out of that, one of the recommendations was the birthing of the First Responder Network Authority, because we need to have our public safety needed to have our own network for communications. The First Responder Network Authority, which is an arm of the federal government inside of the NTIA, was then formulated and budgeted. And so from that, an RFP was put together. Who's going to build this network, right? Who's going to build an only national public safety broadband network? So an RFP goes out, and that's when AT&T wins this bid, the only telecommunications company to make the bid, and they were awarded this bid, a 25-year public-private partnership, and the greatest one in history. And so, bold move. They had a lot of contractual obligations to make, and the First Responder Network Authority is put in place to make sure that they meet those obligations. Well, as we have been building over the course of the last couple of years, this has been a big year for us. That's why Chief Jeff Johnson was on the show. He was talking about hitting those benchmarks, those milestones. In which case, FirstNet built with AT&T, they did that. They did that back in March of this year, which was monumental, and they did it and then some. And what I mean by that is they went hundreds of thousands of miles, 600,000 miles beyond what the contract actually called for, right? It is considered the largest, the largest network that is available, 250,000 square miles bigger than any of the other networks, and it's only for first responders, right? It's the only national public safety broadband network. And so that's some of what we have been doing up until now as far as building up this infrastructure, building up assets in order to service first responders. We have 180 deployable assets, meaning that we can take pieces of equipment to communities that are on FirstNet and improve their communications. Now have over 6 million connections, 28,000 public safety agencies. And, that's part of where we are today and what we have been doing, but we're not done yet. And what we're going to do is get even better. And yes, what we're doing in the future, there's lots of excitement. We have another 1,000 purpose-built towers that are going to be constructed over the course of the next couple of years, which is going to improve communications all over the United States. It's going to add communications where it didn't exist, and we're going to get better. And it's just the commitment that AT&T has. FirstNet built with AT&T knows that they got to continue to develop. They got to continue to stay committed. They are a public safety company. And over the course of the next 2 years and billions of dollars, $2 billion specifically for another 1,000 purpose-built towers is going to go into play. So what I would say in one sentence, I know it's being a little bit chatty there, is that what we are doing into the future is we're going to get better. We're going to get better, and we're going to put actions where talk is cheap, and we're investing in public safety. We're making the only national public safety broadband network better, and we're never going to stop improving.
So before we started recording here, you and I were talking about how your role is a little bit of an advocator and educator of what AT&T FirstNet have to offer. What are some of the most common questions, or what is it you have to explain the most to new customers or users, I should say?
Yeah, and even users that exist, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Well, first, let me just say it's complicated, it's confusing, and I can appreciate and understand it. I think where I spend the most time trying to increase the level of understanding is explaining to the distinctive differences, the differentiators between what is FirstNet built with AT&T versus a telecommunications carrier, which we're not, right? I think many people look at us as, we are just one carrier in a group of carriers, and that just is not the case. We're not a commercial carrier. We are built for and guided by public safety, which is a differentiator, right? That probably comes out front. That's a big deal. It is guided by public safety. Another distinctive difference is that we have oversight. The First Responder Network Authority ensures that FirstNet built with AT&T is doing what we committed to do, right? In other words, everything needs accountability in order for it to succeed. There needs to be checks and balances, and the First Responder Network Authority ensures that FirstNet built with AT&T is providing exactly to its customers what we promised we would do. And I can tell you we're going beyond that. So that's point number two. Point number three is that what we provide, besides the deployable assets that I mentioned, um, besides an encrypted separate core, which contributes to resiliency, is what we provide to first responders is what is described as relentless priority and preemption. Relentless priority and preemption. What does that mean? Well, you and I were talking before the show aired, and we're talking about, hey, I don't know. I said Motley Crue because I'm an 80s guy. I said if it was something that you were trying to do or I were trying to do to send a picture to one of my pals of um, Vince Neil or Motley Crue at a concert, what more than likely would I encounter? And that's difficulty, right? Trying to move that picture or that video because so many people are using their devices. Well, what FirstNet built with AT&T provides is an always on dedicated highway system so that if you're a first responder, that never happens to you. It doesn't happen. You always get to the front of the line. You're always able to make that vital connection with information, whether it be video or text or a phone or a voice call, which is critical to that incident commander, which is critical to moving that information to a potentially receiving emergency room physician or other first responders on that scene to create the situational awareness, the common operating picture that first responders need.
So if there was one takeaway that you want our listeners to get about FirstNet and AT&T, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a great question. Geez, to distill it all the way down to one.
Or maybe even a top three.
Okay, all right. So I'll just say I think it starts with do a little bit of research on your own. Nobody wants to be told what to do, and do some research into FirstNet built with AT&T and really what this means. What is this National Public Safety Broadband Network? What is it? I think that there is a group uh, throughout the United States where, as the infrastructure was being built, it wasn't adequate and sufficient in their area. But now that we've gotten to the 5-year conclusion of these benchmarks, things have changed considerably. So it'd be to reevaluate where you are at if you are not on FirstNet built with AT&T, and and really lean into some of the other users. I mean, there's 28,000 agencies, and this is a savvy group, right? First responders are super savvy, and they are not hoodwinked into doing anything that they don't want to do. And there's a reason why that they're on this network. So reach out to some of these first responders and see what they're talking about, what their testimonials are. Are there some things that maybe you haven't considered before? So the takeaway about FirstNet built with AT&T is that it is the only national public safety broadband network, the only one with oversight from the federal government, and the only one with relentless priority and preemption. And those are things that should give comfort to the community and should give confidence to the first responders using it that this is the real deal.
So if anyone has questions about anything that you do or that you just talked about, how can they contact you?
Sure. They can contact me at JEFFREY.BUCHANAN, Jeffrey.Buchanan at ATNT.com.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, I hope that this new job treats you well. We miss you, but we're so happy to hear that you're doing well.
Samantha, it was great to see you. It was cool to have an opportunity to share some messaging. FirstNet built with AT&T. It can be so confusing, but yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media. We'll see you back here next week for more Fire Headlines.